Welcome all to our Let's Talk Solutions FIMS edition. Today we're going to be talking about the tips and tricks. A couple of housekeeping notes. We are recording this and you will be able to find it in our knowledge base. If you have any questions during the presentation, please enter it in the Q&A. You can find that on your Zoom screen. My name is Amy Strom. I'm the Director of Client Success here at NPACT, and today you'll be hearing from Robin on tips and tricks in your FIMS database. We also have Leanne available, and she'll be monitoring the Q&A functions. With that, let me pass this on to Robin.
Welcome, everybody. It is awesome to see so many people all in one place, so many FIMS users. This is wonderful. So today what we're going to do is cover we're going to cover some tips and tricks. From a high level perspective, those could be under user preferences. We're going to look at keyboard shortcuts, function keys. We're going to talk about the date shortcuts, a profile text search, data management items, a tip from the grants module, and we're going to look at some reporting tips. So let's get started. I am going to share my screen with you all, and we're going to get started with user preferences. Okay, everybody should be able to see my FIMS database at this point. So user preferences are FIMS options that can be custom tailored to a specific user. And as such, they only apply to the person that is setting them. So if for some reason you happen to like hot pink and you change one of your colors in FIMS, you are going to be the only person that's going to be seeing hot pink, which is a good thing. So let's take a look at user preferences are located under tools, user preferences. We have two kinds of user preferences. We have some color preferences, which we're going to look at. And we also have several under all other preferences. And I'm going to start with the all other preferences. First one I want to talk about is multiple windows. So under the option heading, there is a user preference called multiple windows. It's simply a yes or no answer, but what it allows you to do is have multiple FIMS modules open at the same time. So if you notice, I have the navigator screen behind here. I have my profile module open behind there. It allows you to have multiple windows. I know some people don't like having all that busyness on the screen. You just have to make sure that yours says no, so that doesn't happen. By default, if you're a new user to FIMS, by default, that setting is set to no. So you can just change that to yes. Now, you don't need to restart FIMS in order for this change to take effect because it's immediate. The other preference is default module. So when I open FIMS, when I log into FIMS, it not only brings me to the FIMS navigator screen, but it also opens the profile module for me. So I'm just going to demonstrate that. And I'm going to open FIMS. I'm going to log in. Here's my FIMS navigator screen, and right behind it is my profile module. So the nice thing about this is depending on where you do most of your daily processing, you can choose which module you want to open automatically for you. So you have a whole list of the modules over here. The other one I want to talk about is font size. So the easiest way to explain the font size is this is going to determine how FIMS shows up on your desktop. As you can see, mine is set to large. So when I open FIMS, the screens are fairly large. Medium will make it smaller, and then small will be even small. Personally, I have my vision is horrible, so I always like to see mine at large. This preference does require you to restart FIMS in order for it to take effect. So if you come in here and you make a change to the font size, you'll have to log out of FIMS and log back in. All right, so now we're going to look at different type of user preference. We're going to look at color preferences. So if I go into color preferences, and the first thing that we're going to take a look at right here is, if you notice under item, it says module title bar. And then down below, you have the sample. That's what my module title bar looks like right now. The foreground color on the right-hand side represents the text. The background color represents the actual color of the title bar. So if I click on background color, you can see that my current color is lilac, but I could make a change. And if I click on the foreground color, you can see that my text is that bright purple. So you can make a change here depending on what your favorite color might be. Now, the other thing that I want to bring up is when you click on the little drop down, if you scroll to the bottom, there's two items here that I want to bring to your attention. One says tab with data. The other one says tab without data. This is a really nice way to be able to tell what type of profile you're looking at in the profile module. So for example, I happen to be sitting on Bethany Abelson's profile, and I can tell that because her name in the data grid is dark purple. But if you look at my donor tab, my giving history, my promises, the writing on those tabs is light gray. I can still read the text on those tabs, but it's telling me that there's no data because I have my system set to be tabs without data are light gray, and tabs that have data are in this purple. So it's very nicely letting me know exactly what kind of profile I'm looking at without looking too hard at it. So if I go back to user preferences and color preferences, you just have to scroll down to the bottom, and where it says tabs without data, the sample down below is telling you what color currently your tab writing without data is going to be. All right, so now we're going to take a look at some keyboard shortcuts and function keys. I'm going to go into Bethany Abelson's profile to demonstrate this. So from within this profile 1 tab, I'm going to hit my F2 key. F2 is Frank 2. If you notice, the screen pops up for FIMS help. And the types of things that I have added here, profile 1 tab, user notes, address 1, don't abbreviate the word street when entering new profiles, correct format for phone numbers. This is user level help that I have entered specifically into, and if you notice the radio button here says user notes, this is text that I have added. This is extremely handy for people entering profiles, as if there's specific notes that you want them to be able to see so that the data in your profiles is entered consistently, especially if there's multiple staff that are adding new profiles to your database. In the little drop down up here, it says screen level help. If I click the drop down, there's actually 2 levels of user defined help that you can set up. Field level or screen level. I prefer screen level only because it doesn't matter where I am, where my cursor is in this particular profile. When I hit F2, I'm going to see all of the notes that pertain to any of the fields on this profile 1 tab. If I had changed it to field level help, the person entering the data would literally have to be in the field, the specific field, in order to see the notes for that. So I think it's just easier to do for the whole tab, and then they don't have to keep hitting the F2. They can see everything they need in one spot. Now, there is a user preference, and we're going to go back to user preferences. And this is in all other preferences. So if I go down to FIMS help default, what this is saying is if I choose number 1, the FIMS help page is Okay, hold on, sorry. Choosing one selects the FIMS help page as the default page in FIMS context sensitive help screen. So there's two choices for help that can display. One of them is user defined, which is what we just saw, and the other one is FIMS level. So if I go back here and hit my F2, there's FIMS user notes right here. This is what shows by default. Otherwise, it would show my FIMS notes. So that's an option that you can set in your user preferences. So that's just one more user preference. Okay, the next function key is F3. And if I hit F3, this is going to bring me back to the search screen. This is going to give you access to your data grid where you can go find another record. The other way to get back to this search screen is by clicking on the search button, the little binoculars at the top. That will do the same thing. The F5 key is going to refresh your data. So if for some reason you're making changes, you're on a screen, maybe you're updating something, you save it and the screen doesn't look that you're on, doesn't look like the change took place. That might mean that you need to refresh the actual data. F5 will refresh the data on your screen so that that change is visible. Another way to refresh your screen is to go to view and go down to refresh, and you can see that the F5 here is listed as well. And the last one that I want to show you is F6, and the F6 key. So what this does, notice when I click on the magnifying glass, I get a list of profiles in this profile lookup window. If instead of clicking on the magnifying glass, I hit the F6 key, it's going to do the same thing. So F6 displays available options. This could work in a code table as well. So for example, if I went back to profile 1, went to my address type, and I hit the F6 key, it's going to show me the list of codes that I have access to from within that particular address type field. I'm going to go to alternate addresses for this next one. This is going to be a date shortcut. So if I put my cursor in a date field and hit the T key on my keyboard, it's going to default into today's date. So T for today, but maybe I really want yesterday's date. So if I hit the minus key on my keyboard, it reduces it by a day. And if I hit the plus key, it adds a day. So those are 3 date shortcuts that can come in handy. Another one is if you need to blank out a date field, you have to hit the F8 key. It removes the entire date, because if you were to just take out the actual date, like the month, the day, and the year, it won't allow you to save it. You literally have to remove the entire date. So F8 will do that for you. All right, we're going to look at the profile text search. This is my favorite search in the whole system because it allows you to search multiple fields in FIMS, especially if you're looking up a name. There are multiple name fields in FIMS that you might want to search, and the profile text search allows you to do that. So that under inquiries on the menu bar, there is profile text search, and it says search for words. So here you're going to put in, for example, I'm going to put in the word Smith. And if you come down to the bottom, it says check fields to search. So by default, it's going to search your report name field. Maybe you want to look at the last name field too, or the partner's first or last name, or even the sort name. When I click on search, this search is going to look at all 4 of those fields for me in my database. So if I click on search, here's every profile that has the name Smith in any of those fields. So there's quite a list here. And if you notice, the National Boy Scouts of America, their primary contact person on the Profile 1 tab, her last name is Smith. So it's not just an individual profile that's going to show up. It could possibly be organization profiles as well. Now, let's say, for example, you're not sure where Smith falls in the name. You have the ability to do a wildcard search. So if you look here, it says use an asterisk at the end of a word or at the beginning. So if I type Smith and then put my asterisk at the end, essentially what that is saying is that I want the first name to be Smith, and then I don't particularly care what is after Smith. So let me search again. So here is another list that might have Smith and whatever comes after it. So if you notice here, I have Mr. John Smith and Mrs. Abigail Jones. So I probably wouldn't have gotten this if I hadn't put in the wild card. Now you can also put that wild card asterisk before the word Smith and do your search. And that's just saying that you want to see anything that Smith is the last of the names. Now there's two more ways you can actually do this, and I'm going to, so Jones and Smith. So what this is doing is it's going to search the report name field for Jones and Smith in the report name. So if I click on search, I actually only have one, and that is Mr. John Smith and Mrs. Abigail Jones. I can change this and sign to an or, and the or is the little caret on your keyboard. So if I put the little caret in here, I'm saying I want to find Jones or Smith in the report name. So my search returns a much larger list. So John Jones, John Smith, lots of different profiles. This is a great search, especially if partners don't have the same last name, but a check comes in, a contribution comes in. You can certainly search for that profile using the profile text search. Okay, the next thing we're going to look at is telephone numbers. So there's two things that you can do from a telephone number perspective. We have a utility that will format the telephone numbers for you in your system if they're not consistently formatted. So if you go to Tools, System Utilities, Admin Utilities, Profile Utilities, okay. There is one here for format phone numbers. And when I click on that, it gives me an option, a list of what I have the choice of for formatting my phone numbers. So I'm going to leave it at the first one where there's parentheses around the area code, and I'm going to click on apply. So this is telling me the phone number fields that are going to be formatted. I'm going to say okay. Then it tells you what was actually done. Tells you if they're tables that can't be updated for whatever reason. And it also gives you the errors of why it can't update that. So for example, this one, my home phone number is just 5 numbers. It's not even close to a telephone number. So it doesn't really know what to do with it, but at least it tells you which profile ID, and you can go in and manually fix that list. But it has formatted the rest of the phone numbers. Now, if you look here, my phone numbers still are the first number is not in parentheses. This would be a great place for you to hit your F5, refresh your data, and now I can see that my phone numbers have brackets around them instead of just dashes between them. The other really nice thing about this feature is because you run this utility against your database, whenever you add a new phone number, let's say you're adding a profile and adding a phone number, it's going to auto format that phone number for you, so you don't have to worry about the person entering it, not getting it correct, or maybe not necessarily knowing what that looks like. So great tool for phone numbers. Bulk mail recipient. So I'm just going to I'm going to find my profile for Abigail Hunt. So
I'm sorry to interrupt you. It was requested if you could go back to full screen so it's a little easier to see.
Sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I went to my Abigail Hunt profile, and if I go to the Profile To tab, you're going to see that in my bulk mail recipient field, I have a profile ID that is not for Abigail Hunt. So Abigail's profile ID is 1212. Basically, what this is doing is the bulk mail recipient field is used to identify the single address to be used when bulk mailing takes place to avoid sending redundant mail to an address that has multiple recipients. So essentially what would happen is if I was putting together a mailing list and it pulled in Abigail's profile and it also pulled in the joint profile for Mr. and Mrs. John Hunt, they would potentially receive 2 annual reports. Not something that you would want to do. So you would want to do, so under Abigail Hunt, what this is saying is that if she's pulled in, use the joint profile and they're only going to get 1 annual report. The nice thing about this feature is you can use it at will. So if I go up to reports and go to export to word processing, and I go to my mailing tab, at the bottom right, there's a checkbox for bulk mail recipient. So if whatever you're doing, you want to make sure there's no duplicates, you're going to check the box when you export your names and addresses. So the nice thing, like I say, bulk mail, you can use it only when you have a need for it. Or you don't have to use it all the time. Now, the only downside to this, and I wholeheartedly agree, is by default, all of your profiles have a self-referencing number. So all the profiles by default will have their profile ID in that field. So if you wanted to use this feature, you would have to go through your profiles and update your bulk mail recipient to the correct profile IDs. We're going to look at some data management tools next, and the first one that I want to talk about is import record updates. Import record updates can be found under Tools, System Utilities, Admin Utilities, and then all the way back up to Import Record Updates. What this utility does is it streamlines the update of information on multiple records for many of the FIMS tables. So let me show you, let me give you a visual. And if you notice, this utility has the ability to save the defaults. So I'm going to load my selection. And what I'm doing here is I'm pointing to a CSV file. So you need to import this information from a CSV file. I've also said import from row number 2 because in my CSV file, row 1 is labels. So I don't want it to take a look at that. I'm saying that the table that I am importing into is my profile table. The primary field is ID code. So in my CSV file, I have a column that has the ID code of the profiles that I want to update. That's important because that's how FIMS knows which profiles. I'm updating 2 fields in all of these profiles that are part of this CSV. I'm going to populate the nickname field and I want to populate the special handling field. So let me just do a quick, let me show you what that CSV file looks like so you'll have a visual as to what yours would need to look like. So very simple. It's got one column that has the profile ID code of the profile I want to update. Then I have the nickname field. This is the information I'm importing. And then under my special handling code, I have the special handling code of attention that I want to import. So that's 3 columns. That's what's being used for this. So let me go back to that utility. And I will load my defaults. and I'm going to click import. And what it's going to do is it's going to give you a little report essentially saying the ID code, see it starts at row number 2. The old, what's in there right now is just nickname, and I'm going to be importing nickname new. And the old value for the special handling, there is nothing currently in there, and it's going to put in the attention. So all I need to do at this point is update records, and that is going to completed. It completed 7 records have been updated. So I could go back in and see that information. So this is a great way if you have fields that you have not populated in the past, and you think it would be helpful to have that information in FIMS. You can export from the profile module. You could export from the data grid a listing of the profiles along with their ID code, and then you could populate that spreadsheet and save it as a CSV and import in the information you wanted put into the system. And you could even create a custom data grid that just had the few fields, the ID code maybe in the name, so it would be easy to fill in that CSV file once it's been exported. All right, we have another import utility. Now, I do want to say that there's no undo button for any of these import utilities that we're talking about right now. So I strongly recommend, if you're going to do something like this, that you try it out in your test and learn database first and make sure it's going to do what you think it's going to do. Because if you import them in, there's no way to undo all of that. All right, the next one is accessible from within the profile module, and it is called Import Address Updates. This tool was designed initially because we had clients that wanted to send their mailing list to the national change of address and get that postal national change of address, or NCOA, and get that information updated in the spreadsheet. They didn't want to have to manually go back into FIMS and make all of those changes. So this utility can actually be used in 2 different ways. So you could export your information out of FIMS and send it to that to be updated with the national change of address. Or you could just export the information from FIMS, update the spreadsheet yourself from the address perspective and import it in. So it doesn't mean you have to send it out for updating. You can always update the information in the spreadsheet on your own and then import that. And that might be faster than going into each individual profile. All right, this other one is, so if you are using, and this is a mouthful here, National Taxonomy of Exempt Entities, NTEE for short. If you're using those codes from the IRS to code your grantee organizations and or your applications, there is an audit utility that you can run. So that's under System Tools, System Utilities, Admin Utilities, Grantee NTEE Codes Audit. So this is a tool that you can run that'll actually loop through your grantee organizations and FIMS. It'll loop through applications if that's something that you want to update as well. Historic applications or unposted, you see you have a choice here. So you could do unposted applications and possibly leave historic records this alone based on what they were previously. So this is a great utility to help you update things in batches in a group, but only if you're using those NTEE codes. I know a lot of folks are using their own, they have their own internal grant coding that they're using. Just a reminder that you have the ability to mark codes as inactive. So for example, if I go to my profile code maintenance and I go to affiliation, This is my affiliation code table. So if you look at the very top of my list here, I have affiliation codes with 2005 events, 2006 events. You have the ability to mark those as inactive. On the far right-hand side, it says active, no, or yes. If I open that code, I can check the box to make it active. Now, what this does is if you've marked it as inactive, your historic data will remain as is. It doesn't delete it from any of your records, but going forward, it doesn't show up on the affiliations tab on the left-hand side as an available code to be added to any profiles. So maybe you have codes that maybe you've changed your grant coding and you want to mark the old codes as inactive. You can do that so that only affiliation codes that are that have been marked as active are going to show up. And this is in most of the code tables in the system. So if you're doing any sort of coding cleanup, whether it's affiliations, grant coding, gift coding, you have the ability to mark codes as inactive and not have any negative impact to your historic information. The grants module is where we're going to go to look at this next tool. And I'm getting there by going to view grants. I'll just make this a full screen. I'm going to go to applications. This is an awesome utility because it gives you the ability to mass update records in the applications tab. So let's say that I'm going to select all of them. So I'm going to use my shift key. I clicked on the first record and then I scrolled down to the bottom and clicked on the last record. So all of these unposted applications have been highlighted. And if I right click in the data grid, there's a little option at the very bottom for mass update. You have the ability to mass update the action code, the status code, the board date, committee date, grant date, committee code, and batch. So I'm going to check action and I'm going to say I'm going to want to mark these all as open, just for demonstration purposes. And at the bottom, if you notice, the little radio button for highlighted records is chosen. That means it's going to update every record that I have highlighted. And in this case, it's all of them. I'm going to say, okay. It just updated all of my highlighted records. In this case, it looks like I only had 19 out of 37 highlighted, but it's changed all of the action code on all of them to open. So really nice little utility if you want to batch update. And you can just right click in here without highlighting any of them. And if you notice the difference at the bottom, it says current record. So this would only update the record that I was currently sitting on. But you can tag records, update tag records, or you could even just say, I want to do all records in this super tab. Okay, so we're going to look at a few reporting tips. So for the first one, I just want to remind folks about trends and analysis. So trends and analysis reports are basically summarization reports. They're totals only. So let me demonstrate for you. I'm going to go to the GIFs module and make that bigger. I'm going to go to reports. I'm going to go to trends and analysis, and I'm going to pick GIFs because I want the system to use one of the gift history fields. So you're going to see a tab here that you don't see in your normal reports. It's called analysis. You have to choose which field you want to run an analysis on. So I'm going to choose my gift type code. You also do have the ability to filter. It could be filtered by a specific year using gift date. it could be filtered by any number of codes that show up under frequently used fields, or you even have the option of choosing fields from any of these tables. So I am not going to filter this at all because this report runs pretty quickly. So I'm just going to run it. And what it does is it's giving me essentially a list, a breakdown of all of the gift type codes that I have, including the ones that I have not coded, which in this case is 9. It's giving me total gifts and total soft credits. So this loops through each of the different gift types, cash, check, in kind, tells me how many there are and what the total gift and total soft credit is. So you could actually run this for something other than a gift type. It could be gift source. So I'm going to remove my gift type. I'm going to go to gift source code and add that instead, run my report. So here is a listing of the gift sourced codes along with their description, the number of gifts that have been entered, total gifts and total soft credits. So trends and analysis are gifts. They're in the gift module, the grant module, funds, and profiles. We have trends and analysis reports. The next thing we're going to look at is the ability to run a report with totals only. So I'm going to use the gift history report to show you how this works. And what I'm going to do is go to my sorting tab, and I'm going to sort by gift purpose. So I'm not going to filter anything. I'm leaving the selections tab as blank, except for my filter that shows up every time I run the report. And I'll talk about that in just a little bit. But under sorting, I've said I want to sort this report by gift purpose. And I want a subtotal, but I want totals only. I don't want to see all the detail. So if I run report, this is showing me the gift purpose code, the number of gifts, the gift amount, and any non-gift amounts. I could rerun this, and under the sorting tab, I can remove the totals only option. And when I say run it, what it's going to do is it's going to give me all those details. But because I said subtotal, it will actually give me the detail and a subtotal based on the code that I ran the report. So here, if you look, gift counts, blank, I have 200 gifts that have not been coded, over 4 million and 955 in non-gifts. So the totals only is kind of great if you just want the actual totals, but if you're looking for some detail, you don't need to do the totals only reports. But the totals only reports look very similar to the gift, the trends and analysis gift reports that I just ran. All right, I'm going to go to unposted gifts to show you this next report. Just a little tip here. Under processes, you have to edit and post your gifts to move them through the system and along to general ledger. So part of that process is running a gift edit report. I'm going to run a gift edit report, and instead of sending that to the screen, I'm going to choose graphical viewer, and I'm going to click on run report. I love doing this simply because if you are looking through this, if there is an error or there is a warning and you need to make a change, for example, if you look, this gift posting will create a matching pledge. If that's great, if that's good, that's great. If not, you need to make a change. See how the number, the gift number is underlined? That's actually a hyperlink back into the gift. So if you need to make a change, you can just click on that gift number and it opens the gift. You can go in, make your change, save it, and rerun your edit report. Now, when you post your GIFs, it's actually going to post it into the standard FIMS viewer. It's not going to post it to the graphical viewer, but the piece that I really like is right here. And this works for grants, it works for GIFs. It allows you a quick link back into the record that might need to be corrected. All right, another option under FIMS reports is FIMS viewer. So part of this editing and posting process, FIMS generates a lot of paper, a lot of reports, a lot of paper. As a best practice recommendation, we recommend that you only save the posting reports and you don't print them. You just save them as the text file, how they were generated. If you want to open any of those, if you have a need to go back in and open one after the fact, if you use this FIMS viewer to open it, it's going to look exactly the same way it did when it was created, when the posting report was created. So I'm going to just go find my, text file. And here's my gift edit. So this looks exactly the same, easy to read as it was when it was generated originally. So that's just a little tip under reports. You have the ability to use the FIMS viewer to open any of those text files. All right, saved reports. I'm going to go to gift history for a minute. And if you notice when I came in here, this already had a filter criteria built into it. And if you're wondering, for those that are wondering, what this is doing for me is it's basically saying I only want to see GIFs from no adjustments to an adjusting gift. It's essentially going to exclude all of those reversing GIFs and the original GIFs that got adjusted. So I don't know too many organizations that haven't had some reason to make an adjustment to a gift. This is going to exclude all that and only show you the end result. But the nice thing is I named my saved report default. So by telling the system that, it automatically puts that criteria in every time I run the gift history report. Now, another one where this might make sense would be in the fund module, and that would be the fund listing report. So if I run a fund listing, I never want to see anything that's retired. So because of that, I have a saved report that has this criteria right here that essentially says, I only want to see funds that have a date retired, that have a blank in their date retired field. So it's going to show me everything that doesn't have a date retired. And I don't have to put that in. I have a saved report called default. So that's going to load automatically for me. All right, I know we are running out of time. I just have 2 reports I want to show you. And I will turn it back over to Amy at that point. All right, I'm going to go to gift history report. And I'm not going to filter anything, but I'm going to go to my Send To tab and I'm going to choose Graphical Viewer. So if you choose Graphical Viewer under the report layout, you have an option of donor giving by year. What that's going to do is, I'm going to run this. I chose the copy. I've been playing with mine, but donor giving by year. So what this will do is this is going to give you a list that's going to display 5 years of donor giving. So you could actually very nicely see quickly who has donated, who has not donated, and what years. So this is under your gift history report. And let me show you one that's got a little bit more data in it. I'm going to load my selection here and run my report. As you can see, I have not been very active or very good about making sure my data, I keep adding data to my database. But this is showing the years 2007 through 2011. It's a really nice report, gives you some idea who's donating consistently and where there are gaps. So that's the gift history report. The other one is in the grant module, and it will do the same thing except from the grant perspective. So you're going to make sure grantee giving by year is what you're going to choose once you have chosen the graphical viewer. And this will do the same thing. It'll give you 5 years. So grants that have been made to organizations. So this is a really kind of a nice way to get that without having to export that information. Just one final word here, you could get something similar to this if you exported the data from FIMS and did a pivot table in Excel. You could get all years that gifts have been given or grants have been given, but if you are just looking for a quick 5 years, you can get this straight out of FIMS. So that takes care of everything that I have for today. Thank you, everybody. And Amy, I will turn it back to you.
Great. Thanks so much, Robin. I'm going to share back on our presentation. And there have been a number of questions coming in, and Leanne has been on them. And Leanne, do you want to cover the few that you had marked to answer live?
Hi, Amy. Yes. So we have a couple outstanding questions. So one of them was, will the shortcuts with notes be org-wide or just for the individual?
That was a user preference. So everybody can see, the whole organization can actually see the notes that are in there, but which one defaults in is a user preference, but everybody can see the notes. So it doesn't matter which user puts them in, they can all see them.
Thank you, Robin. And the second question, is there a similar search for funds?
Unfortunately, there is not. I wish there was, because it's a great search tool, but there is not.
Thank you. One more on the function that you were just doing, is the year calendar or physical?
It's based on your system.
Okay. And the last question, is it possible to run a unitization report year to date throughout the fiscal year?
A unitization report?
Yep, year to date throughout the fiscal year.
Okay, so that's in the facts module, someplace I actually did not go today, but that's okay. Let's see. So if we go to reports, there is unitization history report or a year-to-date unitization report that can be run.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you, Robin.
You're welcome.
We covered a lot of material. Just a reminder, we will be sending out a recording to this presentation. We also will be sending a handout with a lot of the codes that Robin reviewed with everyone. So thank you everyone for joining, and we'll see you at the next Let's Talk Solutions FIMS edition. And we hope to cover the mysteries of data grids. So I hope you all can join us on April 12th. Thanks all for joining today.